Right. Good day, everyone. Welcome to STEM Lockdown Digital School. This is grade 11 Life Sciences, and I am your presenter, Umkarabetse Setswe. My Twitter handle is at umkarabetse_s. We will be continuing with our lesson from yesterday, but first of all, I'd like to apologize. Yesterday, I didn't respond to people who were using the question and answer booth. So shout out to Miche for giving answers during the lesson, and Danielle. Danielle asked a question which reads as follows: do stems absorb carbon dioxide? Danielle, stems do not absorb carbon dioxide. Carbon dioxide is absorbed through the leaves through the stomata. Right. So I hope that answers your question, and we'll just do a young recap and get into today's lesson. Right. So these are our lesson outcomes. We mentioned why organisms need energy, and we established that they need energy for those various 5 reasons: growth, movement, cell division and stuff, and that we get our energy from food, and that animals also require food, plants also require food, and we also established that plants make their food autotrophs and heterotrophs, that autotrophs obtain their energy directly from the sun, and heterotrophs, they get their energy from the food they consume. These were the essential questions that I asked you guys to follow up on as we go through the lesson. Ask what, ask why, ask where, ask how, and ask when. Okay, and the video that did not play, we spoke about photosynthesis. I told you guys that it is important to know the definition of photosynthesis. And we also got to the equations, the word equation and the chemical equation, right? Guys, like I said yesterday, that these 2 equations are very important. In photosynthesis, we have your reactants and we have our products. So remember, our reactants are water and carbon dioxide, which need light, chlorophyll, and enzymes. And in turn, the products they give us is glucose and oxygen, right? And this is the chemical equation for photosynthesis. We also went through the diagram of the chloroplast. This is where photosynthesis takes place. Okay, guys, another thing that I need to mention is that you guys should be able to draw this diagram of the chloroplast. It's simple, as you guys can see, so just note that down. You need to be able to draw the structure of the chloroplast. And we mentioned functions of each labels that we labeled on the chloroplast. We spoke about why photosynthesis is necessary. I gave you guys 4 reasons as to why it is necessary, and when it takes place, and how. And that is where we left off yesterday, right? I think I was done explaining this diagram, which basically explained the light phase of photosynthesis, which takes place in the grana, and the dark phase, which takes place in the stroma, right? All of this, both the light phase and the dark phase, or some textbooks speak of the light dependent and the light independent stages of photosynthesis, they all take place in the chloroplast, all right? In the chloroplast, but at different sections of the chloroplast. Okay, so like I mentioned yesterday, is that the light phase takes place in the grana, and the dark phase, it takes place in the stroma. And we ended up talking about ATP, right? And I said I'll just give you guys an explanation of what ATP is. we're not going to go into detail of ATP, but yeah. And another thing was the glucose that is made in the stroma of the chloroplast. I didn't highlight it here, but as you guys can see there at the corner is that it can be stored as starch or used in cellular respiration. And I did mention that, guys, cellular respiration, we will deal with it later, and you guys will get to understand what cellular respiration is. So for now, don't worry yourself about it, because we will deal with it as time comes. Okay, so let's get down to ATP. Right, ATP as an energy carrier in cells. So basically, when a cell needs energy, ATP is broken down. And firstly, people would be like, wait, what is ATP? What's happening? So ATP is the energy which is used by all cells. Whether you're human cell, whether you're animal cell, all the cells, they use ATP. Okay, so ATP comes from a molecule which is called adenosine triphosphate. As I try give a young, yeah, I just want to draw the molecule here for you guys. You guys don't need to know this, okay? This is just to make the explaining and understanding thereof better. Okay, so we said that ATP, like its full name is adenosine triphosphate. So what ATP is an organic molecule, right, containing high energy phosphate bonds. If you guys have physics as a subject, you know that the bonds between two phosphate atoms, there are three, right? So these bonds, when we look at them in a biological sense, they are high energy bonds, right? That's where we get most of our energy from. When those bonds break, there's high energy which is released. Right, guys. So these two, the diamonds, ooh, my shapes. Anyways, this is your adenosine, adenine, right? It's an adenine, and then it is connected to a ribose sugar. You guys can just write that down. The square is a ribose sugar, which is connected to, this will be our first phosphate. Remember we said it's a triphosphate, okay? And then we have another phosphate atom here. And another one there. Sorry. So this is how, quickly go back to the laser pointer. So this is how these are your phosphate atoms, right? It's a tri molecule, right? When a cell energy, ATP is broken down and energy is released. What do they mean when ATP is broken down? This bond breaks, right? The first bond of the phosphate, it breaks and it releases energy. Okay, so the cells use this energy to produce important molecules such as proteins, fats, etc. Muscle cells need energy provided by ATP to contract. Remember, I said that all cells, they use ATP, okay? So energy provided by ATP is needed to move substances across cell membranes. So even in plants, they also use ATP. So we don't need to get into much detail or go deep into understanding ATP. Just know that it is the energy used by all cells, the energy carrier in cells, all right? So guys, I have a question for you. Remember our hashtag is hashtag lockdown school. Use it on Twitter, on Instagram, on Facebook. The question is, the glucose that is made during photosynthesis, what is it stored as in the plant, in the leaf? The glucose that is made, what is it stored as? Guys, I'm good. Please answer in your question and answer section there. Send your answers through. Send your answers through and also send your answers through on our social media platforms. Come on, guys, I'm waiting for answers. We just dealt with it on the previous slide before ATP. And we also mentioned it yesterday. Okay, guys, so as soon as I get answers, I will give you guys the correct answer. All right, Danielle, thank you. Starch, correct. No, Miche, it's not the chloroplast. Why is it not the chloroplast? Remember that we said photosynthesis takes place in the chloroplast. All right. So the question that I asked is the glucose that is made during photo. What is it stored as? It's stored as starch. Remember, on the chloroplast we have a starch grain. That is where, after everything is made, that's where your glucose gets stored. It gets stored as starch. The chloroplast, that's where photosynthesis takes place. Right, guys, thank you very much for engaging. Let's just move on. Okay, so now we'll be looking at the factors influencing the rate of photosynthesis. Right. Basically, what this says is, in simple terms, we could say that we have two people running a race. They could either run fast, one can be faster than the other, and the other can be slower, or they could run at the same pace. Okay, so even in photosynthesis, we'll be looking at those things. How fast photosynthesis goes, or how slow it takes place. You get, so the factors that influence the rate of photosynthesis, first one is light intensity. Let me just back my laser. Light intensity. The second one is temperature. The third one is carbon dioxide concentration. And the fourth one is water. Okay, guys, these square brackets, they indicate concentration, all right? So if you want to indicate concentration of water, you would put H2O between square brackets, all right? So just don't get confused about these square brackets. And if you find them in your tests or textbooks, they're just indicating concentration, right? So back again, the factors influencing the rate of photosynthesis is light intensity, temperature, carbon dioxide concentration, and water. All right. So we look at the first one, light intensity. So an increase in light intensity equals an increase in the rate of photosynthesis. One might ask why? Well, remember our equation, the word equation and the chemical equation of photosynthesis. We need carbon dioxide, we need water in order for photosynthesis to take place. But we also need light, radiant energy from the sun, right? We need chlorophyll and we need enzymes. So if the light intensity is high, then that means that photosynthesis will take place at an increased rate, right? But this is only to a maximum point. Please highlight that. Only to a maximum point. So in this graph here, we can see how the light intensity in relation to the rate of photosynthesis is depicted graphically. On our dependent axis, we have the rate of photosynthesis, and on our independent axis, we have the light intensity. So as you guys can see that as the light intensity increases, the rate of photosynthesis also increase, right? Until this point, which we call the optimum point, until to an optimum point, right? And then it gets stagnant, all right, guys? So it can only, like the amount of light intensity that a plant can take can only be until so much. And you can see that by this point here, by this point here until it lies stagnant. So this is your maximum point that a plant can take light intensity to increase the rate of photosynthesis. Right, guys? Hope we understand that. So guys, you should be able to draw information from the graph, okay? So basically understand the graph, know that when light intensity increases, the rate of photosynthesis increases, but to a maximum point, okay? Our next factor is temperature. Okay, so plants photosynthesize at an optimum rate of 25 degrees Celsius. Okay, other textbooks, they have a range, which I think is the best way to put it, that it's between 25 degrees Celsius and 35 degrees Celsius. Okay, so temperatures that are too high, they will denature enzymes, and at low temperatures, enzymes become inactive. Again, let's go back to the equation, our chemical equation and our word equation. We said that we need light, all right? We need chlorophyll and we need enzymes, right, guys? So, okay, so if the temperature is too high, the enzymes will be denatured and will not work to optimum levels. If the temperatures are too low, the enzymes will not be active. Therefore, photosynthesis might not take place, all right, or might not take place optimally, so to speak, all right? So the third factor is carbon dioxide concentration. A decrease in carbon dioxide concentration equals a decrease in the rate of photosynthesis. And an increase in carbon dioxide concentration equals an increase in the rate of photosynthesis. Again, carbon dioxide is similar to light intensity, and here is the graph where we have on your dependent axis the rate of photosynthesis, and on your independent axis we have your carbon dioxide concentration. All right, guys. So similar to what we have read, right? As the concentration of carbon dioxide increases, the rate of photosynthesis also increase, right? This is also until a maximum point, as we guys can see right about here, until the line starts getting, straight, because here we have an exponential increase, right? And then here we have a straight line. So this is where this is the maximum point. This is the maximum point of photosynthesis taking place, right? The rate of photosynthesis happening. Yeah. Then the fourth one is water. So if water is not available, photosynthesis cannot take place. All right, guys, remember our reactants for photosynthesis is carbon dioxide and water. So if one of the reactants are not available, then it makes things way difficult. It cannot take place, right? So if water is not available, photosynthesis cannot take place. And if the plant has too little water, turgor pressure decreases and the stomata will close. Okay, guys. So if you guys have any questions with regards to what we have covered on the effects, on the factors influencing the rate of photosynthesis, please let us use the question and answer box. Okay. Karabo asked, does light intensity change the temperature in some way? Okay, no, light intensity does not have an effect on temperature. So these two, they're two separate things, two separate factors. They don't influence each other in any way. Light intensity is on its own, temperature is also on its own. Karabo. And then what is the maximum? Mihle asked, what is the maximum point? What is the maximum point for what? What is the maximum point for what? Mihle? Or are you asking, let me just go back to this graph here. Are you asking, like, what is this point? Like a digit, a numerical value? Okay, I'm guessing you are asking about a numerical value. So guys, remember that even in our tests and assignments, we work hypothetically speaking, right? But obviously not way too far off the mark. The maximum point that you might get here for question 1 might be 3. For another assignment might be 5. It doesn't make it wrong. So it differs, right? It differs from plant to plant, it differs. So there's no particular maximum point that we have, right? I hope that answers you, Mihle. Let me just go back. Okay, thank you. All right. So guys, just grab your paper. Sorry, not your paper. Yeah, your papers, your books, your notepads, and let us do some questions on what we have covered. All right. I hope you guys can see. Is everything clear? Can you guys see everything? Is the screen clear on your side? Okay, so I'll just continue. Okay, so question 2.1, this was found in a previous exam paper. It reads as follows. The graph, let me just get my laser pointer. Right, the graph below shows the rate of photosynthesis, or rather, let me get a pen, and I just want to go through this with you guys that guys, you should do this when you read questions and when you answer questions like this. Have your highlighter, have your pencil, have your pen or whatever, so that you know what the question is dealing with. So as you read here, we're talking about a graph, right? We have graphical representation of the rate of photosynthesis. Underline the rate of photosynthesis under different environmental conditions. Study, okay, and also environmental conditions. And immediately, guys, when you get to questions like this, you should remember, okay, what are the factors that influence the rate of photosynthesis? We just dealt with them now, right? It's carbon dioxide, it's water, and you guys can just write them down here, if necessary. It's carbon dioxide, it's water, light intensity, and what is the other one? Temperature, right? I hope you guys got it as well. Right, okay. So in this graph, we have the rate of photosynthesis. We have light intensity on our independent axis. Then we have graph C, we have graph B, and we have graph A, right? And what we know about, okay, let's start at A. About graph A, we are told that the carbon dioxide is at 0.04%, and this is the temperature. Sorry, this is the temperature at which it is taking place, and that's for different types of plants, right? Then graph B, we have the CO2 concentration here, which is 0.1%, and this is at 20 degrees Celsius. That's the temperature. And then we have the carbon dioxide concentration here for graph C, which is at 0.1%, and it's also at 30 degrees Celsius. All right. Oh my gosh, okay, cool. So question 2.1.1 reads as follows. Which of the graphs shows the highest production of glucose? All right. So guys, as you might note, I don't know if you guys would get confused with this or what, but remember, if the rate of photosynthesis, okay, the higher the rate of photosynthesis, the higher the production of glucose and oxygen. Remember that our products of photosynthesis are glucose and oxygen. So if you have a high rate of photosynthesis, that means more glucose is being produced and more oxygen is being produced. So this question might have said, which of the graphs shows the highest production of oxygen instead of glucose, right? Remember, the question is not saying which of the graphs show the highest rate of photosynthesis, but in turn, that is basically the same thing, because a higher rate of photosynthesis means a higher production of glucose and a higher production of oxygen, right? So which of the graphs show the highest production of glucose between graph A, B, and C? 5 seconds. Guys, also remember, let us use the question and answer box. Let us also be on social media and give our answers there using the hashtag #LockdownSchool. Okay, guys, I hope everyone said C. Okay, let me just check quickly. C, awesome. Yes, yes, that is graph C. All right. Question 2.1.2. Why is the production of glucose in graph A low? Why is the production of glucose in graph A low? All right, guys, so remember, we have, okay, let me just get my laser pointer, right? We have additional information that is given here, okay? We have our carbon dioxide concentrations given, and we have a temperature that is given, okay? So obviously, to answer question 2.1.2, we'll need to look at the additional information that we have been given on the sides. So why is the production of glucose in graph A low? 10 seconds, guys. Send through your answers. Send through your answers. Okay, I just need to go back to question 2.1.1. I see someone gave an answer of A by question 2.1.1. Which of the graphs showed the highest point of production of glucose? Okay, and I just need to explain that to them quickly. Okay, guys, let's assume this is 0, this is 1, this is 2. These are not the real values, okay? It's just hypothetically speaking. This is 3, this is 4, and this is 5. Okay, so we're doing graph A. Let me just quickly get my laser pointer. All right, there we go. We're doing graph A, B, and C. The highest one here is C because it almost reaches the 5-point mark. And that is why, just by looking at it, that is why we can say that graph C has the highest rate of photosynthesis, therefore will produce the highest amount of glucose. All right, so I just hope that clears the confusion there. Okay, the amount of carbon dioxide. Okay, so Anonymous says the amount of carbon dioxide is less, so there is less photosynthesis, and also the temperature is lower. Right, correct, Anonymous. That is correct. That's the answer for question 2.1.2, which read, why is the production of glucose in graph A low? All right. We had another answer which said C. Okay, so to the person who answered C, let's just explain this quickly. See here the concentration of carbon dioxide for graph C is at 0.1. And here, at graph A, the concentration of carbon dioxide is at 0.04. 0.04 is lower than 0.1, and even here we have 0.1, right? So the amount of carbon dioxide concentration at graph C is the same as in graph B, but graph A has a lower concentration of carbon. So that is why the production of glucose in graph A is low. Question 2.1.3, what factor in graph B and C? So guys, we're looking at graph B and C now, right, for this question. So what factor in graph B and C limits the rate of photosynthesis. Like I said previously, as I explained, that the carbon dioxide concentration, they both at 0.1, 0.1%, right? So the carbon dioxide concentration is the same, but again, looking at our different, at another factor that influences the rate of photosynthesis, which is temperature. Graph C takes place at 30 degrees Celsius, and the temperature of graph B is at 20 degrees Celsius. So now we can see here that, remember we said that a higher temperature increases the rate of photosynthesis only until an optimum point, only until a certain point, because if it goes higher than an optimum level, then enzymes begin to denature, right? Obviously here, to answer question 2.1.3, we need to look at the temperature difference, right? So it is temperature because the temperatures differ. And because of the differences in temperature, the rate of photosynthesis also differ. Okay, let me see. I think it's because there is less. Anonymous just sent a response saying, I think it's because there is less carbon dioxide. No, Anonymous, just as I have said, that the carbon dioxide concentrations are the same. You see 0.1% and 0.1%. Okay. Okay, we said there is less CO2 in graph A. All right. Daniel said the temperature in B is too low and the temperature in C is too high because you said 25 degrees is perfect. Okay, Daniel, I think I need to remember I said 25 degrees is the optimum, né? And some textbooks say that they give a range, 25 degrees Celsius until 35 degrees Celsius. Okay, so just keep that in mind that it is a range. Okay, but yes, guys, the difference between B and C is temperature. All right. Remember what the question said? The question read, what factor in graph B and C limits the rate of photosynthesis? So your answer would be temperature. Okay, question 2.1.4 reads, predict what the graph would look like if the temperature were increased first to 40 degrees Celsius and then to 60 degrees Celsius. Predict what the graph would look like. So you can, okay, predict. They're saying predict, they're not saying draw your prediction. So you obviously need to answer in words. Guys, I need you to flood my question and answer box so that I can get your answers for question 2.1.4. Also, guys, are we together? We follow, we know the answers for 2.1.1, 2.1.2, 2.1.3. Are we together there? There's no, right? We're together. Okay. Okay, let me just check here. Guys, can I get an answer for question 2.1.4? If they increase the temperature to 40 and then increase it to 60 degrees, what will happen to the graphs? How will the graphs be like? If they change the temperature to 40 and then to 60. Okay, Danielle answered. The rate of photosynthesis will go down because high temperatures denatures enzymes. Okay, Danielle, you are on the right track, but I need you to explain it to me from 40 and then to 60. Consider the amounts that were given to you. Consider the values that were given to you, the 40 degrees Celsius and the 60 degrees Celsius. Just consider both amounts. And guys, also remember, if they say that a plant's photosynthesize at an optimum temperature of 25 degrees Celsius to 35 degrees Celsius, it doesn't mean that immediately after 35 degrees Celsius, photosynthesis will not take place. It best takes place at that range of 25 degrees Celsius and 35 degrees Celsius. For example, again, it does not mean that if temperature of a plant is at 20 degrees Celsius, photosynthesis will not take place. It will take place, but it's not the optimum temperature for it to take place. It's not the best temperature for it to take place. Okay. Let's look for more answers. Anonymous, I don't think the lines would go up. Being that the temperature is high, there would not be photosynthesis taking place. Okay, Anonymous, please consider what I have just said right now. Please consider what I have just said right now about optimum, understanding the word optimum. That is just the best temperature at which it takes place. All right, guys. It does not necessarily say it will like enzymes will denature immediately after 35 degrees. All right, guys. Photosynthesis will still take place, but it's not the favorable condition for photosynthesis to take place. A weird explanation that I can make is, imagine outside, right? When you go outside and it's cold, all right? Some people will wear a cap. It's cold, there's no sun, but people are still wearing caps. Right? And on a sunny day, people will wear caps as well. But that is a favorable weather condition for people to wear caps to keep the sun away from their eyes. But it does not mean that immediately when it's cold, people don't wear caps. It's just not a favorable condition for people to wear caps. All right. So even with photosynthesis, there just comes a point where the temperature is too high and photosynthesis will not take place and enzymes will be denatured, or the temperature is too low where enzymes will be inactive and photosynthesis will not take place. I just hope I am clear on that. Okay, let me see, Danielle, you gave another answer. The graph will decrease a bit, yes, and will go even more down for 60 because, yes, awesome. That is a beautiful answer. So guys, are we together? Do we understand what I have just explained? That is a perfect answer, Danielle. So yes, guys, the graph will show a steady increase in the rate up to 40 degrees Celsius, and a further increase to 60 degrees Celsius, it will drop. Okay, guys, because, yeah. It won't go down to nothing though. True, that is true, Danielle. It won't go down to nothing. Yes. All right, so I hope we are together. So question 2.1.5 says, give a reason for your answer in question 2.1.4. So firstly, guys, do we all understand question 2.1.4? Do we all understand the answer for question 2.1.4? If there is any confusion that you guys have, please ask questions so that we can clear up the confusion. Okay, let me just quickly check. Okay, so I'm guessing we are all good, right? We're all good. All right, so question 2.1.5 reads, give a reason for your answer in question 2.14. So the reason you would say is that at higher temperatures, the enzymes become completely denatured or functionless, right? Just as I have explained when I was explaining question 2.1.4 and explaining optimum and best and favorable conditions, right? Or another reason you could give is when the temperature is increased to 40 degrees Celsius, the temperature is the optimum for maximum photosynthesis. All right. That's just another reason that you guys can give. Okay, so I hope we are together and we understand what is happening, because there's no questions that are coming through. So guys, but the best answer or the best reason for question 2.1.5 is that at higher temperatures, the enzymes become completely denatured or functionless. Okay. Are we together? Can we move on to the next questions? And guys, we'll move on. Boom. Okay, yeah, here. Sorry. Yes. Yeah, question 2.2. Question 2.2 is a whole mouthful. Let me just check how many minutes do we have left. Wow. Okay, we have 5 minutes left. So guys, I will just request you guys to take pictures if you can, take screenshots, but also guys, today's lesson will be uploaded on YouTube. Okay, so you guys can do this question. You can do these answer these questions, and then tomorrow we will go through the ones that we haven't covered today. So you guys can just do it on your own, but we will just start and see where we end. But I just request that you guys take pictures or write down the questions, so that tomorrow we start with marking, and we also start with our new topic, which will be animal nutrition. Okay, so let's just start at question 2.2. It reads, when light shines on pondweed, sorry, let me get my pen. All right, so when light shines on pondweed, Elodia sp, bubbles of gas are released. Underline bubbles of gas are released. And also understand why the bubbles of gas are released, because light shines. Light shines, bubbles of gas are released. The rate at which bubbles of gas are produced can be used to measure the rate of photosynthesis. Interesting statement. The rate at which bubbles of gas are produced can be used to measure the rate of photosynthesis. Already, this part of the question is telling us that one of the factors that we covered which influence the rate of photosynthesis will be covered in this question. So, an investigation was carried out to study the effect of different colors. Study the effect, different colors, of light on the rate of photosynthesis in pondweed. The pondweed was exposed to one color of light and left for 5 minutes before measurements were taken. The time taken for the release of 20 bubbles was recorded. Okay, so after 20 bubbles were released, the time was noted, and then the procedure was repeated using light of different color of equal intensity. Different colors, but equal intensity, that's important. The apparatus was set up as shown in the diagram below. So in this diagram, we have bubbles of gas. They are the bubbles of gas that are showing. And after 20 bubbles showed, the time was recorded, and there is our pondweed. So the results are shown on the table below. We have violet, blue, green, yellow. Okay, guys, time is actually up. I hope you guys have already noted down the question or taken a screenshot or yeah, taken a photo or something so that we can continue from there tomorrow. All right, guys. So yes, thank you very much for joining me today. Okay, wait, Mihle, you said you don't understand, but it's fine. I need you to explain to me what you don't understand. Please write what you don't understand so that tomorrow we are on the same track and on the right track. We are together. Kayla, I didn't see this. Enzymes will still be working, just not working as they used to. Yes, Kayla, that is correct. Mihle, I need you to respond and tell me what you don't understand, and then we will cover it tomorrow, all right? But guys, please do take screenshots or pictures of these questions, and then tomorrow we'll go through the answers. Okay, guys, thank you very much for joining me in this lesson. And please remember to tell your friends about the STEM Lockdown Digital School. Tell them about, you guys can also check out the website of Africa Teen Geeks, and then follow Africa Teen Geeks on all their social media platforms. All right, guys, thank you very much and have a lovely day. Remember to do your work, please. Come with answers tomorrow and any other questions after going through this section, and we'll cover it tomorrow. Thank you very much, guys. Have a beautiful day further.